So we shall now begin our discussion on inferential statistics through the expertise of our invited lecturer, Dr. Reynaldo Cruz. Dr. Ray, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So we are now giving the Zoom platform to Dr. Ray to continue his discussion about inferential statistics. Share, sir, share screen na lang po ng inyong PowerPoint.
Pa-able na lang po.
I'm sorry. All right, so once again, we have Dr. Reynaldo Cruz for our inferential statistics discussion. Sir?
Hi, good afternoon to my colleagues, fellow teachers. Welcome to the second leg of our academic sharing on the very powerful test called correlation and regression procedures. Okay, last time, just to set the tone, let's have a quick review of what we had covered last week. Last time, we focused our discussions on correlation procedures. There are, I'd like to inform my colleagues that there are about 10 different correlation procedures. I only selected one correlation procedure for every type of level of measurement of data. Okay, if you remember, we were saying that correlation procedure is used when the researcher is interested to answer three basic questions. Okay? Okay. So let's begin with the function of chi-square. When do we use chi-square test and Kramer's V coefficient? Generally, the chi-square test is typically used to analyze the relationship between two variables when these conditions are met. And this is according to Jacquard and Becker, okay? One, both variables, I am referring to variable X, which is our independent variable, and variable Y, which is our dependent variable. Both variables have been measured on the same individual, or the observations on each variable are between subjects in nature. Essentially, a chi-square test is a goodness of fit test, where the researcher may analyze the significance of differences between a set of observed frequency, or oftentimes referred to as OIJ frequencies. Observed, meaning data drawn from your questionnaire or from your respondents. And then you're going to assess it in the light of a set of expected frequencies, more popularly called EIJ. Okay, so there are two sets of frequencies that are being studied. No? A set of data gathered from the questionnaire, OIJ, observed data, and you will compare it with a set of expected frequencies. The expected frequency is a set of frequencies that is a set of frequencies that is assigned by the researcher. Later on, I'll show you how the expected frequencies is assigned. Okay, before we go to the illustration, the first type of hypothesis, there was a mention about level of measurement of the data. When the data we are comparing are in the strength of interval scale, meaning truly quantitative, and the researcher is dealing with ungrouped data, meaning very few cases, less than 30, what correlation coefficient do we use? The Pearson correlation coefficient for ungrouped data. Okay, now we have discussed that last time. When you are dealing with data in the strength of interval scale, I repeat, truly quantitative, and the number of cases is more than 30, we use Pearson correlation coefficient for group data. So dalawa yon. Now we are talking about type 2 tests. Pearson correlation coefficient for ungroup data, Pearson correlation coefficient for group data. Pearson, I repeat, is used when the data are in the strength of interval scale. The moment the data that we gather are not in the strength of interval scale, normally, other than the interval data, we usually gather data in nominal or categorical form. For example, when you get data about academic performance of students, and the data you gathered are 85, 88, 90, 91, like that. This is what we say, we call data in the strength of interval scale, quantitative. All right? But sometimes you gather data data that are in the strength of nominal or categorical scale, like academic performance of students, and the data you gather are excellent, very satisfactory, fair, or poor. When data are nominal in nature, you cannot use Pearson R. Although Pearson is a very powerful statistical test named after the proponent, Dr. Carl Pearson. But when the data are not in the strength of interval scale, you cannot use it. So we use a substitute test, okay? When data are in the strength of ordinal scale, what statistics, correlation statistics do we use? Ordinal. Anybody would like to make a guess? Data in the strength of ordinal scale, what correlation statistics do we use? Anybody?
Spearman.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, that's good. We use the Spearman's correlation coefficient. When data are nominal or categorical in scale, what do we use?
Phi
Yes,
coefficient.
yes, you can use phi coefficient, particularly if the data are dichotomous. No, it's either male or female, in favor or against. Okay? The moment the data are nominal, categorical, but non-dichotomous, meaning the columns or the categories are more than 2, like you have 5, 10, 15, 20, you cannot use phi coefficient anymore. The best substitute will be the chi-square test and the Kramer's V coefficient. Okay, this is the correlation coefficient that we missed to finish last time. So this is what we're going to discuss. Just to summarize, chi-square test is used when the researcher is analyzing two variables that have been measured on the same individuals, or observations on each variable are between subjects in nature. Or simply, you would like to compare a set of data drawn from the respondents to a set of expected frequencies. That's when you use the chi-square test. Maybe you will have a better understanding of the chi-square if I give you an example. Look at these, my dear colleagues in education. Here is an illustrative case showing how the chi-square test and the Kramer's V coefficient are used. Okay, the case reads, a researcher was interested in the relationship between social class of parents and discipline style they used with their children. So what is our independent variable here? The X variable. Read the first sentence. What is our IV or X variable? That is social class of parents. Okay. The social class of parents may be categorized in terms of, let's say, very high, high, average, low, or very low, like that. No? Or there may be other classifications. And then you are interested to find out whether it has something to do with the discipline style employed by the parents in disciplining their children. So an example of, here is a classification. When we say social class, the researcher categorized the data in terms of working class, middle class, and upper class parents. I hope that's clear, no? When we talk about social class, we mean working class, middle class, and upper class parents. Is that clear to the group? Can you follow? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank
Yes
you.
po, sir.
So when we say discipline style, the researcher classified the discipline style into three also. Physical discipline, meaning parents emphasize or make use of physical punishment. Ito yung mga parents na nangungurot o kaya ay namamalo pagka nagkamali ang mga bata. But there are parents who would not like to use the physical discipline style. Instead, they resort to psychological discipline style. How do we differentiate? The psychological discipline style emphasizes psychological punishment such as scolding or withdrawal of affection, but not in any way the parent uses, shall we say, pinching or making palo with the children. And sometimes the third category or classification is mixed physical and psychological discipline. Oh, a little pause nga para makuha natin. Maybe how many of you are using the physical discipline? Yung namamalo, nangungurot, no? Nag-i-inflict ng physical punishment. Are there many of you who are using this? This is the old style, no? A more modern style will be the psychological discipline. It's good because it does not make use of any corporal punishment, but instead, you use scolding, withdrawal of affection. Now, my dear co-teachers, there are students who cannot be taken or cannot be persuaded using psychological discipline. And in such a case, maybe the parents can combine the two. You begin with psychological discipline. Siguro after 2 or 3 offenses, hindi pa rin nagtanda, then you can invoke the physical discipline. In our study, we call it mixed discipline style, mixture of physical and psychological discipline. Here is a contingency table that may be utilized in doing a chi-square test analysis in Kramer's B. Look at that. So how do you proceed? Column 1, you should have a set of respondents. You can number your respondents 1, 2, 3, 4 to the end. All right. Second column, you should have a column for social class. And opposite its name, you write the working class, middle class, and upper class. Okay? Second column yan. Third column, you should have a column for discipline style. And opposite its name of student, you write there physical. Physical kung ang ginagamit ay corporal punishment. Psychological kung affection, withdrawal of affection or scolding or pure guidance work. And the third is mixed. So are you cleared with the 3 columns? Again, what do you call the first column? What do you write under the first column, my dear co-teachers? Respondents. All right? And you need not write the names, but you can number the students from 1 to n. What do you write for the second column? Hello?
Class.
Social class.
So your data should be working class, middle class, and upper class. Third column is
The discipline style.
Discipline style.
So your entries would be physical discipline, psychological discipline, and mixed.
Psychological and mixed.
Okay. So are you cleared about that? Yan ang 3 columns. You call it a dummy table. Afterwards, you summarize the results. you tabulate each student. For example, student number 1, the social class of the parent is working class, and the parent uses psychological discipline style. So dito nyo siya itatabulate. Tally, 1, like that. Respondent number 2 belongs to the working class, but the discipline style uses physical discipline style. So dito ninyo itatali yung respondent. The third respondent belongs to the upper class, and a mixed discipline style is used. So dito naman natin siya itatali. You have to tally all respondents, okay? So in this case, there are 300 parents participating in the study. Okay, out of 300, 137 parents belong to the working class, 98 belong to the middle class, and 65 belong to the upper class. In terms of discipline style, out of 300, 102 parents belong or make use of the physical discipline style. 109 used psychological discipline style, and 89 used the mixed method of discipline style. So that's where we derive these figures. So do you have any question about this? Do you understand how this was arrived at? Dear co-teachers, okay ba yan sa inyo? Can you follow?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Okay, so now when you have this kind of contingency, tawag natin dito contingency table, you can now begin applying the chi-square test. The chi-square test sampling distributions or the formula is given by this. All right? Chi-square, ito po ang symbol ng chi-square, x square. Chi-square is equal to the summation of all categories or entries one at a time. OIJ, which means observed frequency, minus EIJ, the expected frequency, square over EIJ. Straightforward. So madali lang siya, no? Data drawn from your respondents, data assigned, tapos you analyze the significance of difference of the two, you square it, and then later on, you divide it by the expected frequencies. Ang problema, ang konting problema lang natin dyan is EIJ. Why? Here is the table. Excuse me. Halimbawa, ito yung table ngayon, no? Ito yung observed frequencies natin. Yung table 1, you remember yung pinakita ko sa inyo una? Ayan. Kita nyo itong 60, 24, 18, tapos 29, 49, 31. Pag kinonvert natin yan, ganito siya. Ito siya, oh. 60, 24, 18, 29. Susulat nyo lang dito. No? Ito yung cell. Physical, discipline, parent belonging to the working class. Number of respondents belonging to this category, 60. You can see it in table 1. Can you follow? Ayun, no? All right. Second cell, middle class parent using physical discipline style. Pag tinignan yung table, ayun yung 24. In other words, this column, all these frequencies can be taken from your questionnaire. So, are you cleared about that? Wala tayong problema rito, no? There is a little calculations in assigning the expected frequencies. Fellow teachers, are you cleared about this? Where these frequencies came from? Hello? Are you still with me?
po.
Okay, ito.
Yes po.
Okay. Ang
Sir.
explain ko sa inyo, paano ginawa itong expected? The expected frequencies has to be assigned. There is a formula used. The expected frequency is calculated using the formula FR FK over N. My dear co-teachers, FR stands for total frequencies of the rows times the total frequency of the column divided by the total number of cases. O saan ang galing yung number na yan? Tingnan natin yung table 1. Ito. Total frequencies of the rows. Ito yun. Working class, ilan sila? 137. Okay? Times total frequencies. A-assign tayo dito na expected, no? Tawagin natin itong cell 1. So to analyze these frequencies, dapat meron silang expected for each cell. Expected frequencies. Ito, halimbawa, what do you call this 60? Anong kahit klaseng frequency ito? What kind of frequency is 60? This is called observed frequency or OI. Ang ibig sabihin, nanggaling yan sa questionnaire ninyo, tinabulate ninyo. Alright, yun nasa table natin kanina. Dapat yan para ma-analyze natin. There must be an expected frequency in its cell. So, paano tayo mag-a-assign ng frequency sa 60 ng expected? Tatandaan natin yung formula. No? For every observed frequency, there must be an expected frequency. O ito yung observed. So, how do we assign the expected? Total frequencies of the rows, 137, times total frequencies of the column, 102, divided by 300. So, ganito lalabas. Ito yung calculation. No? You see that? You get it? 137 total frequencies of the rows times 102 total frequencies of the column and over 300 the number of cases. If you solve for that, you will get 46.58. Is this clear to you? Hello? Klaro ba kung saan ang galing?
Yes po.
Okay. Now, you will do this, kaya pag tinignan nyo ngayon, yung ating table, ayan. So, ito yung observed 60. Ang expected niya is 46.58. Okay. O, itong 33.32, saan ang galing yan? Ito katapat ng 24, ha? Balik tayo ulit sa table. Ayan. Ito yung 24. Pag-assign tayo ng expected. Again, total frequencies of the rows is 98. If you have your calculator, you can try it. 98 FR times what? 102 divided by 300. I repeat, FR 98 times FK 102 divided by the total number of respondents, or N, 300. If you solve for that, you will get a value equal to 33.32. I showed you how to compute it, no? So this is how you will assign. Ito, 18. Let's take it. One more example. 18. Yan. So ito yan, ha? Total frequencies of the rows is, what is the total frequency of the rows of 18?
65.
65.
5. Okay, you multiply it by
102.
102 divided by
300.
300. Okay. If you do that,
22.1.
you will get
22.10.
2 point, rounding lang yung difference. It's about 22.10. So you do it for all. Itong 29, second row na yan eh. Saan doon yung 29? O, tingnan nyo lang. Ayun. Kaya ang i-multiply nyo naman is 137 times 109 over 300. For 49, 98 times 109 over 300. For 31, 65 times 109 over 300. Can you follow the process?
Yes, Doc.
So if
Yes,
you do
Doc.
that, my dear colleagues,
Yes,
you come
Doc.
up with a table like this. No? This is a straightforward computation of the chi-square. Kanina, binanggit ko sa inyo, tingnan ano yung formula ng chi-square? OIJ or OI minus EI square over EI. Can you follow? Ito. Ayun. OI minus EI square over EI. Can you follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Give me feedback, no? If you want me to repeat, just say so. Or it's not clear, I'll repeat. Kaya, I devised a table. Later on, I'll show you the equation procedures of computing. Ito pinakamadali. Nakita kong experience has taught me that this is a very easy. Ito, tingnan ninyo yung formula. OI minus EI. Ito yon. So 60 minus 46.58, you get 13.42. You have your calculator, try it. 60 minus 46.58 is 13.42. You get it? Hello? Okay ba? Can you follow?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Tapos, square it. 13.42 times 13.42 is 180.10. So that is the square. And then if you divide this, O minus E square over E, yun ang sinasabi doon sa formula, your answer will be 3.87. I like to repeat that. 60 minus 46.58 is equal to 13.42. Square equals 180.10. Divide this value by 46.58, you will get 3.87. Let's have a little practice. Kindly get your calculator, please. And let's try the second one. You have your calculators with you?
Pero makaduwa ng calculator mo sandali.
Sige, subukan natin. Let's have some practice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, begin. 24 minus 33.32.
Equals negative 0.32.
Equals negative
0.32.
9.
9.32.
Okay? Square it.
Times negative
9.92 9.32 times negative 9.32. What do you get?
86.86.
Virgo teachers. Divide this value by 33.32.
Divide
33.32.
Yes.
2.61.
Ito. You see?
Yes, sir.
One more try. Subukan pa rin natin. Together, kindly get your calculator. 80 minus 22.10.
4.1. Negative.
Negative 4.1. Square it.
Times negative 4.1. 16.81.
Yeah, 16.81. Divide this value by
22.10. 0.76.
Okay, here is your 0.7.
0.76.
Okay?
minus
Very easy, no?
Yes, sir.
Easy. Parang ito din. 29 minus 49.78 is negative 20.
20.78.
Yan, square it.
Times negative 20.78 equals 431.81.
Divide this
Divided
figure.
by
49.
49.78. 8.67.
Very good. Here it is. All right. So you just do that process. Repeat. You finish all. Afterwards, you get the summation of all the chi-square values. And you will get summation chi-square equal to 25.70. If you add these values, last column please, you will get a summation equal to 25.70. Okay, so at this point in time, what I would like to ask you, are you cleared about the process?
Yes, sir.
Fair. Thank you. I have a fast learners group. After that, ito ngayon, I like to make some explanatory notes. Now you can compute the chi-square using that procedure. Actually, my dear friends, I like to show you this. If you analyze the formula that we have, kindly look at this, no? Okay. So you can see here. Can you look at this, my dear co-teachers? Ayan. Here is our chi-square formula. Chi-square is equal to the summation of all entries, one at a time, OIJ minus EIJ square over EIJ. Okay? So if you look at table 1, tingnan ninyo yung table 1, your equation will look like this. 60 observed frequency minus 46.58 expected frequency square, and then divided by 46.58. Cell 1 lang yun. Plus, dahil may summation tayo doon, look at cell 2. 24 minus 33.32 square divided by 33.32. So if you use this procedure, which is the equation procedure, you will have a very long sampling distribution, long computations. Medyo confusing. Yan, na-limit natin. 3 lang ang rows, 3 ang columns. When you write your thesis, sometimes your columns will be 10 by 9. So if you use this procedure, that will be very cumbersome. Kaya ipinresent ko sa inyo. Okay, can you follow? Kaya ipinresent ko. Don't you find this very helpful? Mas straightforward siya, okay? Di ba mas madali ito? Hello?
Yes
Feedback,
po,
please.
Doc.
Do you find this easy to use? Then the long formula, ito yung equation procedure, oh. Medyo nakakalimutan.
Yes, sir.
Mas madali
Yes, sir. Opo.
ito. Ayun na yung chi-square, oh. Sa baba. All right. Now, we have computed. Do you have any question regarding the chi-square computation? Meron ba kayong question sa pagko-compute ng chi-square? Actually, if your purpose is to analyze the significance of difference of the observed data from the expected, the chi-square alone is could suffice. Kaya lang, our lesson now is correlation coefficient. And you will notice, pagka correlation coefficient, the coefficients will range from 0.01 but never higher than 1.00. Yan lang ang range ng coefficient. 0.01 to positive negative 1.00. Eh, ito ay 25.71. So you will find it difficult or understanding how you can use this for correlational analysis. To use the chi-square test in correlational analysis, kasi very practical ang chi-square. Phi coefficient is very strong, very powerful. If you're dealing with only 2 mutually exclusive, pero bihira yung ganung case. Kadalasan, you will have 5 columns or 10 columns or 15 columns. So hindi pwede yung phi. Very logical ang gamit ng chi-square. You can use it for all types of columns and all types of rows. Okay? Walang limit sa dalawa. Kahit 20, pwede rin ng chi-square. Kaya lang, you have to analyze this as an index of significance of difference between observed and expected, not to analyze it for a correlation coefficient. Why? Because if you remember, yung correlation coefficient natin is a statistical test that is used when the researcher would like to answer 3 basic issues. Do you still remember the 3 basic issues? Issue number 1, is there a correlation between X and Y? Sabi natin, when the coefficient is 0, eh yan, ang laki-laki, oh. So you cannot use that. The other thing, sabi niya, after analyzing or finding answers to are the variables correlated, next question is, what is the nature of relationship? You remember the 3 issues, fellow teachers? Yes. Yung second is, what is the nature of relationship? And that is either positive, meaning direct, or negative, meaning inverse. You cannot use this for correlation coefficient analysis. More so, analysis of the magnitude or the degree. For that reason, let me make an explanatory note. The use of chi-square test only allows the researcher to test the significance of the differences between the observed frequency OI and the expected frequency EI, nothing more. To convert the chi-square value into a correlation coefficient analysis, you have to use or apply the Kramer's V test. Okay? Madali lang siya. It will not give you any worry. Ito po yung Kramer's V coefficient procedure. Kramer's V is equal to the square root of the summation of chi-square over n number of cases and L minus 1. L is the number of levels. Okay, in our example, ang ating variable x ay, what is our variable x? Social class. Tama po?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. How many categories do we have or how many levels for social class? Working?
3.
3. Kaya makikita nyo dyan, ginamit natin 3. The other variable, discipline style, 3 levels din siya. Tama? Psychological, physical, and mixed. O kaya ang ginamit natin ay 3. So here, ang computed chi-square value natin is 25.71. Remember? Ang number of cases natin is 300. Ang levels natin, highest level is 3. Kaya 3 minus 1. So if you solve for that, you will have a Kramer's V value equal to 0.21. This is now expressed in terms of coefficient. Kaya we can now answer the 3 basic questions. Okay? Is there a correlation? Yes, there is, because it is non-zero. What is the nature of relationship? It is positive. The more you use the discipline style, the more prevalent yung social class, the more you use the discipline style, no? Kaya pwede na nating ma-interpret ngayon ito, yung 0.21. Look at this. This is a very simple interpretation of the case. Results of the calculation revealed a chi-square value equal to 25.71. For an alpha level of 0.05, remember alpha? I told you it's a choice between 0.01 and 0.05. Here, the researcher used 0.05, where the degree of freedom is 4. Saan ang galing yung 4? Degree of freedom is computed using this. R minus 1 times C minus 1. R means number of rows. Oh, what is our R? Number of rows. Social class. Di ba ang rows natin, social class, my dear colleagues? O, ilan ang levels ng social class?
3 po.
3. So that means 3 minus 1. Yung columns natin, how many levels?
Columns, 1, 2,
Columns. Discipline 3 din. Kaya
3 din ako.
3 minus 1 times 3 minus 1. So that means 2 times 2 is 4.
4.
Doon nang galing yung degree of freedom na 4. Okay? Degree of freedom is equal to 4. Then now, the critical value of chi-square is 9.48. Saan ang galing yun? Ayan, ayan. Saan ang galing yung 9.48 na yan? So I like you to know that for every, pwede ba natin i-drop it? For every statistical test, my dear colleagues, mayroon tayong tinatawag na table of critical values. Ito, pakita ko sa inyo. Ayan, okay. Here is one book in statistics. This is called Statistics for the Behavioral Sciences. All right? The author is Jacquard and Becker. At the back of the book, ito, merong table of critical values. Makikita nyo dito, my dear co-teachers, nakalagay, critical values for chi-square distribution. Yung horizontal, yung vertical niya, if you use the table, ito yung table niya, vertical, pag ano, ang degree of freedom natin, 4. So, tingnan nyo rito, hanapin nyo yung 4. Ayun. Degree of freedom is, dito. Degree of freedom is 4. Tapos, ang alpha natin, yung alpha, dito sa horizontal. Degree of freedom, vertical. Tapos, pagtatapatin lang ninyo. 4 degrees of freedom and 0.05 alpha. At the point where the two lines intersect, you get 9.48. In other words, what I'm telling you, yung 9.48 na yan, hindi nyo inimbento, nanggaling sa table yan. Table of chi-square value. Ayan. Can you see it? Critical values for the chi-square distribution. Ito po ang gagamitin ninyo to be able to get the critical value. All right? I hope. All stat books ay meron table of critical values. Pagtatapatin nyo lang, okay? And the rule is, when the computed value, what is our computed chi-square value? 25.71. Tama po ba? The rule says, if the computed value, chi-square value, is greater than the critical value, the decision is to reject the null hypothesis and conclude in favor of the research hypothesis. Ayan. That a relationship exists between social class and discipline style. Bakit ganyan ang statement? Kasi meron siyang hypothesis dito yung researcher, Social class and discipline style are unrelated in the population. They are not significantly related. Because the computed chi-square value is greater than the critical value. So we reject the null hypothesis and our conclusion is in favor of the research hypothesis. The data suggests that social class and discipline style are related variables. Is that clear to the group? If the computed value is greater, anong decision natin? If the computed value is greater than the critical value, what is our decision, my dear co-teachers?
Reject the null hypothesis.
Conclude in favor of the reverse. The reverse, yes, or the research hypothesis. So sabi natin, since the computed chi-square is much higher than the critical chi-square, the null hypothesis may be rejected and it may be safely concluded that social class and discipline style are related in the population, or social class and discipline style are significantly related. Meron kayong nakitang relasyon. Okay, so that's how it works. No? This is the easiest way of computing the chi-square. Okay? Ito, interpretation ng chi-square, no? Ito ngayon yung Kramer's V. The nature of relationship can be discerned by examining columns 6 and 4 of the calculation table. The largest chi-square value are for the psychological working class 3.87. Tingnan nyo lang yung table, no? Psychological middle class is 5.03. All right? And physical working class 3.87. Examination of the observed minus expected frequency suggests that working class parents are less likely to use psychological discipline than expected because the value is negative 20. And more likely to use physical discipline as shown by the positive 13.42 value. In contrast, the frequency of the psychological discipline used by middle class parents was greater than expected, 13.39. the Kramer's value, the Kramer's V value of 0.21 further indicates that the degree of relationship between the variables may be described as there is a relationship, but the relationship is not that high, as shown by the table of coefficient values. So this is how, siguro, given the more time to read no interpretations, no, I put the interpretations here so you can study very well. I tell you, this is one of the most useful non-parametric tests that you can use. Okay, so that ends our discussions of chi-square and Kramer's V. Unless there is questions that you would want me to answer, or you would like to request for some amplifications or further explanations. Are there questions from the group regarding the use of chi-square test and Kramer's V coefficient? Any question? Would that mean the procedure is clear to you? Feedback naman. Siguro kailangan nyo lang konting a second and third reading of the case, ano? But I'm sure you can follow. Very straightforward naman siya. Is it safe to assume that you understand chi-square test? Fellow teachers?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can we now leave this? Anyway, you will have Dr. Nuki uploaded all the lectures. You know? You can have all of them printed and have a second and third reading. Okay. This is not the last time naman that we will meet. I'm sure there are other sessions. So if you have further questions, then I can entertain them. All right. So with that, we are now ready to take up part 2 of correlation and regressions. I am referring to the use of the regression procedures. Ayan. Thank you. Okay. We now come to the second part of the activity, correlations and regression procedure. You remember, I like to repeat, correlation procedure is a statistical test that is used when the researcher would like to address or analyze 3 basic issues. What is the first issue?
Correlation between X and Y
Is
variables.
there a correlation between X and Y variables? Very good. Second issue.
What is the nature of R?
Okay, thank you. What is the nature, or what kind of relationship exists, positive or negative? And the third issue, what is the magnitude or the degree of relationship? So I don't know, you are enrolled in research also in this semester, is that correct? Is that correct? Are you enrolled in research now?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Dr. Nuki, after teaching you how to formulate good research problems, will be asking you to formulate theoretical and conceptual framework. Yung conceptual framework niyo is on the left side, you will have your IV, and on the right side, your DV. Halimbawa, ang IV ninyo, meron tayong sabihin natin 20 IVs. Halimbawa, yung study is about determinants of students' performance, no? In the city division of Maykawayan, like that. Ang X factors natin will be student factors like IQ, EQ, study habits, SES. The other set of factors will be ito, student-related factors. Merong pwedeng another factor could be teacher-related factors. And the variables could be educational preparation, training, what else? Ano mga teacher factor? Job commitment, morale, Salaries and fringe benefits. Ayan. Kung gusto niyo mas maganda, sama niyo pa yung school factors. What could be example of school factors that could affect performance of students? Ano ilalagay natin sa school factors? I'll give you one. Adequacy of classroom facilities. How do you expect the teacher and the students to teach and learn well if the classroom they are using is so warm? At kung tagulan naman, ay may mga tulo. So that affects teaching and learning processes. You agree?
Yes, Doc.
All right. Marami pang factors. No? Example lang yon. Adequacy of classroom facilities. Can you give me other factors that are school-related in nature? Pwede din namang adequacy of laboratory facilities. Example lang ito. Could you imagine, my dear co-teachers, that I had experience of teaching in a public school. After teaching for 3 years in an exclusive private school in Quezon City, I have to write my thesis about the modern math program in the division of Bulacan. So I have to transfer. I was assigned in a very, very far barangay in San Jose del Monte. All right. Can you imagine? The barangay is relatively poor. Wala talagang maayos na mga buildings. There is no home economics building. There is no industrial arts building. Can you imagine? My home economics teacher is teaching cooking using the chalk and the board. Walang lab. Walang HE. So kaya yung mga eskwela are taught how to cook salad by simply identifying the steps on the board. But in essence, if you give them tests, the students could pass the test because they memorize the steps that the teacher has given. But in essence, they could not cook. And that explains how important is the adequate laboratory facilities. Marami pang factors sa school. Management style of the principal. Okay, to make the discussion clear, sa conceptual framework ninyo, pinakita na kayo ng mga sample conceptual framework ni Dr. Nuki. Siguro tatlo rito, no? Student-related, teacher-related, school-related. Tapos dito, performance in NAP. O kaya, performance in sa high school, what government exams do the students take? Kaya pa ba tayong NAT ngayon? Kung wala, NCAI. Yung results ng NCAI, ang performance. Alright. So, 20 ang independent variables, 1 ang dependent variable. If you do correlation analysis, at the end of the correlation analysis, the very clear information that you could get would be how many of the 20 variables are significantly correlated with performance. I repeat, in our example, ang independent variables natin ay pupil-related variables, teacher-related variables, and school-related variables. Ang dependent variable natin is performance of students in NAT or NCAI. So at the end of the correlation procedures, you can identify which of the 20 independent variables are significantly correlated. How many independent variables are significantly correlated with the dependent variable? And how many of the independent variables are non-significantly correlated? That's all that the correlation procedures can tell you. Out of 20, I repeat, suppose only 5 variables were found to be significantly correlated with performance. Ang ibig sabihin, there are 5 important explanatory variables for the performance of the students. Okay? If there are 5 very important explanatory variables, ang next question natin is, which of the 5 exerts the greatest influence? And which of the 5 exerts the least influence? In other words, you want to quantify how much effect does each IV contribute to the DV. Can you follow? 20 yung IV, no? You want to quantify how much effect does each variable, IV variable, have on the DV? That kind of question, my dear co-teachers, cannot be answered by correlation analysis. You have to employ regression analysis. All right, so this gives me the opportunity to discuss. When do we use regression analysis? All right. First, regression procedure is used as a means of explaining causal relationship among variables. That is the first function of regression. You want to explain or analyze causal relationship between variables, IV and DV.
Doc, wala po kami makita sa screen.
You don't see anything?
Wala po.
Share it. Thank you. Share screen.
Opo, kanina pa po wala kaming makita.
Ha? Wala pa? Pag ganun,
Kanina pa po.
Iba yung share screen.
Meron na po.
Meron na yan?
Meron na po.
Meron na po.
Opo.
Thank you very much. So let me go back. With that short introduction, let me now discuss with you, when do you use regression procedure? Ulitin ko, yung correlation, sabi natin, the correlation procedure is used when the researchers would like to assess three basic issues. Is there a correlation between X and Y variable? Second, what is the nature of relationship between the variables? And third, what is the degree or the magnitude of relationship between the variables? That is for correlation procedure. For regression procedure, it is used in explaining causal relationship among variables. I will give you an illustrative example later on. Second function, you use regression for predicting the value of the dependent variable based on the independent variable as suggested by Mertler and Vanata. And next, the indices of regression are called B coefficient and beta coefficient. What do you call the index of correlation? Yung kino-compute natin, what do you call that? Pag correlation procedure na ginagamit nyo, the index is correlation coefficient. Okay? Symbolized by a small r. Okay? For regression, the indices are B coefficient and beta coefficient. And there is still another one, the F ratio. Now let me explain. What do we mean by that? To explain it clearly to you, let me present an illustrative case where regression can be applied very well. All right, let's read the illustrative case. School administrators observe that certain personality factors influence the teaching performance of faculty members in University X. And what are the personality factors? 10 factors have been identified, all this belonging to personality factors. First, work habits, work attitude, mental ability, human relations, creativity, tolerance, emotional stability, ascendancy, responsibility, and dependability. There is a psychological instrument that can measure personality of teachers. So if you administer the test, you will get values for each of these. By the way, let me interrupt you for a while. Do you think work attitudes and work habits are important factors affecting teachers' performance? You agree?
We do,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir, we do.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
a
sir,
teacher may
yes.
not be excellent in terms of cognitive skills, but if she possesses sterling work habits and work attitudes, expect that that teacher will be a performer. Of course, there is no question about mental ability. Another one is, of course, human relations. Very, very important. If the teacher fails to establish a good relationship with students, may blinders ka agad dyan. Tingnan niyo yung mga eskwela. Mabanggit pa lang yung pangalan na I remember when I was at BSU, the students in studying mathematics, marinig pa lang yung pangalan ni Dr. Morala. Tuwan-tuwa sila. Because Dr. Morala knows how to relate with students very well. If you are, or if I am, if we are intelligent educators, but we are so strict in the classroom and we do not know how to relate with students, that will hamper teaching and learning process, correct? You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
we
right.
do, sir.
Yes, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
sir.
And that's the basis ng researcher, no? Certain personality factors would influence the teaching performance of the faculty. So the focus of the research is to identify what specific personal factors affect or influence teaching performance. How was it done? Personality tests were administered to the teachers or to the respondents, and their scores were correlated with their teaching performances. To determine which factors influence significantly their performance, the data were subjected to regression analysis. Results of the regression are summarized in the following table. I will be presenting 3 tables simultaneously, one after the other. No? Analyze, correct the spelling please. This is supposed to be Z. Analyze and interpret the results of tables 1 to 3 and use a 0.05 ito. Kindly correct. 0.05 level of significance. All right. So, regression is one statistical topic that cannot be computed manually. Authors have repeatedly mentioned that you have to process regression data using statistical software. So one very popular, I'm sure Dr. Nuki will teach you how to use the SPSS. What does SPSS stand for? Statistical Packages for Social Sciences. All right. I am presenting to you computational examples manually done just to give you an idea. Para pagka kayo nagko-conduct ng, are you asked to do action research in your district or school?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pagka mga action researchers lang, pwede na siguro hindi gamitan ng statistical packages. Pero kung gusto niya na mas mabilis, gamitan niya ng SPSS. Kaya lang, when you use the SPSS, may konting gastos yan. But what I'm saying is, if you're using classroom-based research, you can simply compute, except kung regression ang topic, talagang SPSS nila. So I hope that's clear. All right? Your data will be processed using the SPSS. I like to repeat. Ang agreement namin ni Dr. Nuki, I will discuss the theoretical portion, the application or the use of SPSS, i-demonstrate niya sa inyo. Dr. Nuki is a computer whiz. So he can very well teach you how to use the SPSS. So let me proceed with the discussion. I said the indices of regression analysis are 3. What are they? Do you still remember? What's the first one? The B coefficient. Second? Hello? What's the second index ng regression?
Beta.
Beta coefficient. And the third is ANOVA or F ratio. Tatlo ang babasahin ninyo dyan. Ha? B coefficient, beta coefficient, and ANOVA or F ratio. Let me explain first. Don't you worry, I'll give you a detailed illustrative example so I can explain to you what I mean by regression. But first, allow me to unlock the terms. B coefficient is sometimes referred to as the unstandardized coefficient. The SPSS software will give you all this data. All you have to do is to analyze and to interpret them. The following concepts will help you analyze and interpret the indices. First, the B weights or the B coefficient indicate how much the value of the dependent variable changes when the IV increases by 1 and the other IVs remain the same. Stating it differently, for every unit increase of 1 in the X variable, what happens to Y? That's what you would like to end. That's what B coefficients will tell you. For every 1 unit decrease in X, what happens to Y? Kaya prediction ang sinasagot ng regression. You predict the dependent variable based on a given independent variable. So I have this clear now. I repeat, B weights indicates how much the value of the dependent variable changes when the IV increases by 1. Stated differently, if you for every unit increase or for every increase of 1 unit in X, what happens to Y? For every 1 unit decrease in X, what happens to Y? That is what B coefficient answer. All right? Another thing, the B coefficient can either be positive or negative, parang correlation coefficient. If you find a positive B coefficient, what does it mean? A positive B coefficient specifies a positive change in the dependent variable when the IV increases. Halimbawa, ang X natin is mental ability. Tapos, ang Y, performance. And then you get a B coefficient equal to 0.75. That would mean for every unit increase in mental ability, for every increase in IQ, performance can be expected to increase by 0.75. O niyo yan? O halimbawa, work habits. Ang nakuha nating B coefficient is 0.90. How do you read that? For every unit improvement on the work habits of the teacher, performance can be expected to increase by 0.90. That's what I mean by a positive B. All right? From there, let me continue. A negative beta coefficient, B coefficient indicates a negative change in the DV when the IV increases. Siyempre, you expect a negative B coefficient if the variable is inversely correlated, if X is inversely correlated with Y. I'll give you one example. I like to think many of you are teaching in the public schools. In the public schools, may practice. If the teacher demonstrates very high teaching proficiency, anong ginagawa ng principal at saka ng supervisor? She is given a lot of additional work. Tama yan? Is that correct? Pag nakita nila yung teacher magaling, mahusay magturo, siya ang paggagawin, aside from teaching, siya ang paggagawin ng action research ng school. I-involve siya sa pagpaproject ng mga enrollment. Bibigyan siya ng maraming extra assignments without extra pay. Tama ba yan, fellow teachers in the public school? Pag magaling yung teacher, padagdag ng padagdagang assignment, pero wala namang additional pay. Kaya ang assumption natin, additional workload is negatively correlated with performance. Sa private naman, an example ay ganito. In the private schools, some of you are teaching in the private schools, there is a minimum number of hours teaching per week. Halimbawa, ang normal teaching hours is 21 per week. Ayan, sa private school, ganyan, 21 to 24. Yung ibang school na, pagka-government, 18 lang. But in most cases, 21 to 24. If the teacher teaches more than 21 hours, she is given an overload pay. Correct? Fellow teachers in the private school? For every additional work, usually there is an overload pay na ibinibigay sa atin. Is that correct? Feedback, teachers?
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
Kaya
Yes,
ang
sir.
ginagawa sa
Marami.
private schools, comparatively speaking, the basic salary in the public school is much higher than the basic salary in the private school. So, ang usual practice to increase the pay of the teachers, dinadagdagan ng teaching load. Sa halip na 21, pinagtuturo ng 40 hours per week. And that means teaching 8 hours a day for 5 days. Kaya sabi natin, yung dagdag na teaching load may affect the efficiency, the teaching performance of the faculty. Kaya sabi natin, teaching overloads is negatively correlated with performance. Workload. Mas maraming workload kang binibigay sa teacher, expect that the total performance will be reduced or will suffer. Can you imagine? Ang sarap yata. Kasi I have experience teaching in state schools. Kami sa Bulacan State University, there are teachers teaching mathematics, 6 periods, 1 prep. Halimbawa, algebra, pero 6 classes ang tuturuan niya. Di ba sarap mang buhay ng teacher noon? Isang prep lang ang ihahanda mo, tapos 6 periods, and you get the basic pay. In the private schools, ang problema, 8 loads din ang binibigay sa teachers, pero kumisan 6 preps. Ang malungkot, kung 8 loads, 8 preps. Kung kukunti ang section eh. Isang section lang per year, per program. Nangyayari ba yun? 8 loads,
Yes, sir.
6 preps. Worse, kung 8 loads, 8 preps. So that's an example of 2 variables that are negatively correlated. So I hope you remember that. No? B coefficients will be interpreted this way. What happens to the dependent variable for every unit increase in the independent variable? A positive B specifies a positive change. A negative B indicates a negative change. What about the beta coefficient? How different is it? Ito po. The beta coefficient is oftentimes referred to as the standardized coefficient. And how do you interpret or how do you read the results? Beta weights or standardized regression coefficients are often utilized to create a prediction equation for the standardized variables. No? Beta weights are based upon z-scores with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. There is a coefficient table which presents T and P values, which indicates the significance of the beta weights. Ang rule ang ginagamit dito is probability rule. When the associated probability of the beta weight is less than when the associated probability is less than alpha, the rule is to reject the null hypothesis in favor of the research hypothesis. And finally, beta weights are very helpful in comparing the relative effects of the predictor variable. Looking back, those earlier example ko. In your conceptual framework, you have 3 sets of factors. Student factors, teacher factors, and school-related factors. Total number, 20. Ang dependent variable mo, student performance. After doing correlation analysis, out of 20 independent variables, only 5 independent variables were found significantly correlated. Meaning, yung 15, ano ang relasyon? most likely the 15 are also correlated, but not to a significant extent. Can you follow me? 20 ang independent variables. Results of the correlations tell you that only 5 are significantly correlated. 15 are non-significantly correlated. Kaya ang next question natin is, how much does each important variable contribute to the Y? Yun ang sinasabi nitong number 3. The beta weights are very helpful in comparing the relative effects of the predictor variables to the criterion variable. The higher the beta weight, the higher the effects. Allow me to give you an example so that you can follow what I'm saying. Before we go to the illustrative example, I'd like you to remember that other than the B coefficient and the beta coefficients, you will also find an F value or ANOVA. And the F value indicates the combined effect of the predictor variables. Yung predictor variables, yan din yung IV or independent variable. In other words, to summarize, the B and the beta coefficients tell us how much effect does each independent variable contribute to the dependent variable. Stated differently, how much does each X factor contribute to the Y? So what I'm saying is, the B and the beta coefficients explain the individual effects of the variable. What about the ANOVA or the F value? The ANOVA or the F ratio explains the combined effect of all independent variables. Kasi pagka ang coefficient ay non-zero, ibig sabihin may effect. Kaya lang yung ibang effect significant, yung iba non-significant. Pero all of them affect. What if you put all of them together at any given time? Ano resulta? The F value will tell you that. If you put together all the 10 personality factors, ano ang effect sa performance? All right, so to summarize, I repeat, B and beta coefficients explain the individual effects of the independent variables on the dependent variable. All right, the F ratio or the F value indicates the combined effect of the IV to the DV of the predictor variables to the criterion variables. Ito yung rule. The associated probability or the p-value indicates the significance of the combined effects of the predictor variables on the dependent variable. How do you know whether the F value is significant or not? Titingnan natin yung p-value. If the p-value is less than alpha of 0.05, our decision is to reject the null hypothesis and to conclude that the combined effects of the independent variables are significant to the dependent variable. Maybe you will understand it better if I give you an example. Kanina, yung binigay ko sa inyo example, no? I hope you still remember kanina. Yung illustrative case natin. Ayan. So this case talks about the effects or the influence of personality factors on the teaching performance of the faculty. Personality factors X factor or independent variable. Teaching performance Y factor or the dependent variable. Okay? Now let's go to the results. Pag pinrocess ninyo yung data using SPSS, ito ang one of the results. You will arrive at 3 different tables. And table 1 will look like this. Here you can see these are the 10 personality factors included in the study. Remember, your dependent variable is teaching performance. Correlating its personality factor and performance, you ended up with the following correlation coefficient results. Can you follow me, my dear co-teachers? Hello?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Doc.
Thank you very much. Basahin nga natin ito, no? Bago tayo pumunta sa actual case. Balikan natin yung 3 issues. Sabi ng 3 issues. There is a correlation between X and Y. If this is the result of the study, we can interpret this by answering the 3 basic issues. Ang first interpretation natin is, do you find the coefficients? Do you find any coefficient that is 0? Meron kayong 0 na nakita?
No, wala po.
Wala. Kaya ang ibig sabihin niyan, all the 10 personality factors are correlated with teaching performance. Can you follow? This is shown by the obtained
Yes,
correlation coefficients, which are all non-zeros. Yun ang answer sa first question. Okay? Second question, nature. Tingnan ninyo mga kapatid yung results ng correlation coefficient. Did you find any negative coefficients? Meron ba?
No.
Wala. All of them? Positive.
Positive.
Okay. How do we interpret? The results of the correlation analysis shows that the 10 personality factors are positively correlated with
Performance.
teaching performance. Meaning, general, the higher the quality of personality factors, the higher the teaching performance. In the same vein, the lower the quality of the personality factors of the teacher, the lower the teaching performance. Yun ang answer natin. Sabi natin dito, all the personality factors are positively correlated with teaching performance. Meaning, personality is directly correlated with performance, high to high. The higher the quality of the personality factors, the higher the performance. The lower the quality of the personality factors, the lower the performance. Nasa kayo ba kayo doon? Hello?
Yes, sir.
I can move fast.
Yes po.
Malagtawan. Sana hindi nyo na-miss. Sinagot natin yung basic. The same thing you will do pag
Alam ko namang ano.
What is it? Comment? Can you follow in discussion natin?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Basta balikan ninyo 3 questions. 3 basic issues. The correlation coefficients are all non-zeros. The results point out that personality factors are correlated. The 10 personality factors are correlated with performance. Answer to question number 1. All the coefficients are positive. And this means personality factors are directly correlated with performance. The higher the personality factors, the higher the performance. Conversely, the lower the personality factors, the lower the performance. Answer to question number 2. Number 3, describe the degree or the magnitude. Mas madali iyon. Tingnan ninyo, to describe the degree, tingnan niyo, ito yung sinasabi nating associated probability of the computed coefficients. All right. If you look, ang rule, sabi dun sa rule, if the associated probability of the computed coefficient is less than 0.05, meaning the correlation is significant. Kung higher, the correlation is non-significant. Can you follow? O, tingnan nyo nga ngayon itong probability values. Alin dito ang lower than 0.05? Anyone can answer, please.
0.05.
What about this one?
003.
Okay, so that means work habits.
Work habits.
Significantly correlated
Work
with
Work attitude.
yes, okay.
attitude.
Tingnan ninyo,
Survive.
fellow teachers, check all the probability
Mental ability.
Okay, so which will you check? 0.003, check.
0.000. 0.00. No more.
0.015, check.
Check.
Check, meaning significant, huh? 0.023, check.
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 Check, meaning significant. 0.105.
Check.
Huh?
No.
No.
10 yan eh.
No,
Ay,
no.
10. 10.
0.10 eh. 0.05 lang yung criteria
Okay.
natin.
Opo.
No.
This is higher.
No.
No check.
Higher, higher.
No. No.
0.11.
No.
No
No.
check.
No.
0.09.
No.
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 0.118.
No.
Oh, 0.02.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Sense of
02.
Yes.
All right. And 0.09.
No.
No.
Ay, yes.
No.
No
No.
check.
Ay,
Okay. So,
check.
summarize natin.
Oh.
Out of 10 personality factors, only 5 personality factors correlate
1, 2,
significantly with teaching performance. These are
3,
work habits, P
Work
equals
attitude.
3,
Attitude.
5,
work attitude, P equals 0.00,
Mental
Five.
ability.
ability, P equals
Ability.
0.01,
Sociability.
sociability, P equals 0.02,
Responsibility.
And responsibility.
0.02. Yun ang i-explain ninyo. And then sasabihin nyo na lang, the remaining 5 other personality factors are also correlated but to a non-significant extent. Meaning, hindi importante ang effect. You get it?
Yes, sir.
Yan. Yan ngayon ang results ng correlation analysis. The next table that SPSS will give you will look like this. Ito na yung regression indices. So here you find the beta coefficient, the B coefficient,
B coefficient.
the beta coefficient, and the P
value.
So allow me, give me the opportunity to explain. Results of the regression analysis between personality factors and performance revealed a B coefficient of B equals 0.88 for work habits. This means that for every unit improvement on the work habits of the teachers, performance can be expected to increase by 0.88. Imagine, for every improvement in work habits, 0.88. Eh kung mag-increase ng 5 scale ang work habits ng teacher, di mo-multiply niyo yan sa 5, ito, and that is the amount of effect that you can predict. All right. Work attitude recorded a B coefficient of 0.96. This means that for every unit improvement in work attitudes of the teacher, performance could generate an increase of 0.96. Mental ability contributes 0.77, meaning for every improvement in IQ, teaching performance can be expected to increase by 0.77. You do it, no? Like that. Ang i-explain nyo lang ay lahat ng significant. Kaya yun lang 5 dito, no? Binanggit nyo na sa akin kanina. Work habits, work attitudes, mental ability, sociability, and responsibility. Sabihin nyo na lang, the rest of the personality factors contribute, but not to a very significant extent. Hindi na i-explain. Hindi pala naman significant yung effect. Can you follow? Nakuha ba, co-teachers?
Yes, sir.
Doc.
Yes, sir.
Ayan. That's how you interpret the B coefficients. I would like everybody to know that after this lesson, you will be asked to do a case analysis. And according to management, you have to submit your case analysis, and that will be the basis of your grade. One of the basis of your grade in statistics. Lahat ng worksheets, bibigyan kayo ng grade. No? Kung meron kayong 4 na worksheets, you put together all your grades divided by 4, and that is your final grade in statistics. So you must be able to explain all this. So that is as far as the B coefficient tell you. I repeat, the B coefficient tells what happens to Y performance for every unit change in the X. Ito yun, personality factors. Any question on B coefficient? Do you understand B coefficient? Fellow teachers, do you understand how to interpret the B coefficient? Or more examples? Hello? Fellow teachers, can I hear some feedbacks? Do you understand the interpretation of the B coefficient? Oy, what does silence mean?
Sir,
Yes, Dr. Nuki.
siguro po they are silent for now. Pero since this is recorded, they will review your previous discussion or explanation of the B coefficient interpretation.
Okay, anyway, ang final presentation ko is actual example. So meron kayong model na analyzer. So
And
let me
yes,
go
sir, we
back.
do understand po, kaso ulit na lang po namin.
Okay, that's very good. That's nice to hear. Huwag kayong mag-alala. At Dr. Nuki and myself work very closely. And we tried to come up with modules that will not only explain theories. We give examples to show you to demonstrate the applications, and we will present to you sample analysis and interpretation. Okay? So let me go to the beta. The beta is used as an index of comparing the effects of the individual personality factors on the Y performance. The rule is the higher the beta, the higher the effect. So look at the beta coefficients, my dear colleagues. What variable recorded the highest beta coefficient?
0.251.
Okay, 0.251, and you are referring to work attitude.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to interpret this, sasabi, this is the highest, no? Second highest.
1.6, 0.160.
0.160. So this is the highest. Second
Work
highest.
habits and
The third?
sociability.
The third is mental ability.
Ability.
We have two, sir. 0.160.
Try to the
Sociability.
second 1.60 and 1.60.
Oh yes, dalawa, no?
For
We have two.
sociability.
160.
Yes.
So how do you explain that? Sasabihin natin ngayon. Result of the
0.5 po
regression
nun.
analysis revealed that the highest beta coefficient of 0.25 reflects the contribution of work attitudes in analyzing the performance of the teachers. For every improvement in work, sabihin natin, work attitude is a personality factors that contributes about 25%. Kasi standardized ito eh. Kaya minumultiply yan by 100. Parang sinasabi natin, work attitudes contributes 25% to the performance. Work habits and sociability contributes about 16 or makes 16% contributions to performance, while mental ability contributes about 15%
15%.
to the performance of the teachers. Kaya ang best predictor na personality factor is work
Attitude.
followed by work habits.
Work
Habits and sociability.
Very good. So that's how you interpret the B and the beta. The P value is used in analyzing which are significant and which are not. Okay? To give you a clearer view of the regression procedures, let me now proceed to the actual example. By the way, Table 3 presents the analysis of variance of the regressions of personality factors and performance. Makita nyo rito, the obtained F ratio is 87.24 with an asterisk. The computer tells you that. Pagka isang asterisk ang nakita ninyo, significant at 0.05. If the computer gives you a 2 asterisk value, meaning significant sa 0.01. Kasi yung 0.01 is a higher level. Okay? Ito nakalagay, oh. Results of the analysis of variances of the regressions of personality factors and performance revealed an F ratio equal to 87.24. This means that all
Significant.
the 10 personality factors exert significant combined effects on the teaching performance of the faculty. The best predictors, however, were lahat ng significant. What are they? Work
Work
attitude,
habits, work
work
attitude,
habits, sociability,
sociability, responsibility,
no? And mental ability.
mental ability.
Yan, lalagay nyo. The best predictors, however, are, ayan, identify nyo yung lahat ng significant. With that, fellow teachers, let me present to you an analysis. Tatlong tables yung pinresent ko, no? What do you call the results of table 1? Correlation analysis. Okay? This is how we, tingnan nyo nga yung, ito yung analysis ng table 1 natin. Okay? Results of the correlation analysis revealed that all the 10 personality factors are correlated with the teaching performance of the faculty in varying extent. This was shown by the varying non-zero coefficient. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
The nature of relationship is positive, which means that in general, the better the personality characteristics of the faculty, the higher the teaching performance. Firstly, the lower the quality of teacher's personality, the lower the teaching performance. A closer look at the obtained coefficients, one could glean that of the 10 personality factors, 5 factors recorded coefficients with associated probability less than the significance level set at 0.05. This means that
Work attitude,
0.85,
work habits,
work
mental
habits
ability,
0.82, mental ability 0.65, human relations 0.16, and responsibility 0.63 correlate significantly with the teaching performance of the faculty. The 5 other factors correlated with teaching performance, but not to a significant extent. Okay? Nasagot ba natin yung 3 basic issues? Did we answer the 3 issues? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Mga kapatid sa tungkulin, nasagot ba natin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we are ready to analyze the regression results. Table 2. Tingnan nyo ngayon yung regression results. To determine the magnitude of influence of the personality factors on teaching performance, the data were subjected to regression analysis and the results are summarized in Table 2. Results of the regression run indicate that for every unit increase in work attitudes and work habits, teaching performance could generate an increase of 0.96 and 0.88 respectively in teaching performance. In the same vein, a unit increase in human relations and mental ability would result to a corresponding increase of 0.78 and 0.77 in the teaching performance of the teachers. Sense of responsibility, my dear co-teachers, also registered a B coefficient of 0.68 with an associated probability of 0.003. This finding also revealed that sense of responsibility is a significant factor in assessing the teaching performance of the faculty members. My dear co-teachers, this is the sample analysis of the beta coefficient. Okay? Sorry, B pala. B coefficient ito, no? Ito, B. Now, for the beta, Analysis of the obtained beta coefficients would indicate that of the 5 significant variables, work attitude appeared to be the best predictor of teaching performance. Beta is equal to 0.251, followed by work habits, beta equals 0.160, and mental ability, beta weight is equal to 0.152. So that completes the analysis of table 2. Let's go to table 3. Results of the analysis of variance of the regression of personality factors on the performance of the teachers revealed an F ratio of 87.24, significant at 0.05 alpha. This means that the 10 personality factors jointly influence the teaching performance of the faculty, but the best predictors of performance were, in that order, work attitude, work habits, mental ability, human relations, and sense of responsibility. Okay? That ends our early evening edition of Newswatch. This is Dr. Ray Cruz saying thank you for your kind listening. No? Meron pa ba kayong anything you would like to clarify?
We just want to say thank you, sir.
Yes. After this,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much also. Dr. Nuki would like to give you time to read the handout.
Thank you, sir.
Let me present to you. When you go home, Dr. Nuki will present to you a case analysis. No? The case is given by this. Ayun. This is a case analysis that you have to read, study, and solve. And you have to submit your paper using a short bond paper, legal size, 8.5 by 11. Kasi ika-clip ni Dr. Nuki lahat yung output ninyo. And these are instructional evidences, no, that will be submitted to the graduate school office. So I want everybody to use the same size of bond paper, short size, short legal size, 8.5 by 11. All right. And the case has something to do with the impact of classroom management strategies of teachers on the teaching performance. On the teaching performance of chemistry concepts. No? It is the case. So you can read this very well. This is similar to what we have discussed earlier. Afterwards, the results of the SPSS are presented in 3 separate tables. Results of the correlation analysis of the classroom management strategies and student learning. That's table 1. There is the results of the regression. Finally, the results of ANOVA. This is, and then you add 1 or 2 sheets of paper presenting your analysis and interpretation of the results. I'd like to remind you that I have given you a clear-cut presentation of the analysis and interpretations. Tatandaan niyo example kanina? After the case, present the tables. Sundan niyo yan. No? Present the case, results of the SPSS, present your analysis, and finally, your interpretation. So that would be it. The remaining period is supposed to be spent in doing this paper. Dr. Nuki, any other announcement or you would like to make to the group?
Yeah, Dr. Ray, thank you so much for that very informative and in-depth discussion of inferential statistics. I'm sure that they're still catching their breath. No?
Yeah, I understand.
And they are still digesting the contents of the discussion. I got the idea that they have an assignment, the one that you presented, sir.
Yes.
But, do you have, sir, a Microsoft Word copy of that?
Yes, I have. I'll ask Michael to send you.
Or, yeah. Kung na-send na sa akin,
I-send na raw sa iyo.
alright. So, ang gagawin ko na lang, my dear students, I will be posting the assignment of Dr. Ray in our FB page. Para naka-Word na siya, Microsoft Word na siya. And then, I think that you need to do a good analysis of the data, no, that were presented in that assignment. And ang gagawin natin siguro since new normal ngayon, soft copy yon, kahit ang submission ay ano na lang, soft copy na lang din. Ang gagawin natin ay you're gonna send your assignment through email, no? Siguro ang we will ask Michael to come up with an email address kung saan nila pwedeng i-send, sir, yung kanilang mga outputs, yung mga kanilang assignments. Kasi the submission, the hard copy submission right now is somewhat difficult because of the pandemic. No, they will be finding it too difficult to travel and submit the hard copy of the assignment. So Michael will
Dr. Nuki, one suggestion.
Michael will come up with a email address or Gmail where they can submit their assignment. Na ibig sabihin, sir, once you open the email, they will be sending their assignments there, and then you can download po, sir, and then pwede nyo nang basahin through your laptops. And
Okay,
then,
so can Michael send you the email ad later?
yes, sir. Kahit later na lang po. Ang gagawin ko po, ipopost ko sa aming FB page yung mabubuo. Hindi naman kailangan ngayon kagad, Michael.
Yes.
Kahit tomorrow or later, I need the email address where they can send the assignment, no?
Okay.
But later, I will post the case analysis in Word format for them to peruse and for them to download from the FB page. I will be uploading it in the FB page that we have, no? But I guess they had a very good grasp of the correlation and regression analysis part, no? Kasi talagang very lengthy in discussion ni Dr. Ray. And ibig sabihin, wala na magtatanong, wala nagtanong, ibig sabihin, sir, naintindihan nila. Dalawa yan, either nasa process pa sila ng digestion or naintindihan na nila thoroughly. Now, this is the advantage of asynchronous learning. Pwede ito, naka-record ito, i-upload ko ito, pwede nilang balikan anytime they wanted to review your discussion, sir. Hindi na nila kailangan kayong abalahin para tanungin kasi pwede na nilang reviewin na lang yung inyong prior discussion for today. Yeah. So, I think they're happy and they have no questions anymore. And I will ask those students who are enrolled in research seminar. Meron ba rito na naka-enroll sa research seminar?
Yes, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Yes po.
Okay. So magpapaiwan yung mga naka-enroll sa research seminar kasi we will have a short orientation about the conduct of your proposal defense. Ang sabi ni Ms. Yolanda, we are still in the process of digesting the lecture. And sir, tama yung aking hinala. Na they already swallowed it. Siguro sir, nginunguya pa rin nila hanggang ngayon.
Understandable. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
sabi ko, siguro the only advantage is, Dr. Nuka and myself sat down and we really tried our best to come up with some materials that will be very helpful to you.
yeah.
We note yung proseso natin, we discuss with theoretical underpinnings of the test. As we show you the steps, the sampling distributions, we give you illustrative cases, and then we apply the test, and we give you sample analysis and interpretation later. So,
All right.
we feel na magiging helpful sa inyo.
Okay. So since today is pandemic pa rin, kasi although naka-MGCQ na tayo, of course, Dr. Ray and myself are are very considerate about your conditions and your situations, especially the DepEd teachers that you are busy implementing the first ever online or non-face-to-face classes, no? October 5 ng opening ng public school classes. So I'm sure busy kayo, no? So along that line, may I know kung kailan nyo magagawa yung assignment na binigay ni Dr. Ray? Mga ilang linggo nyo kayang gawin? 1 week or 2 weeks? Suggestion.
1 month.
1 month?
Maximum, sir. Maximum.
I'm sorry?
Sir, nangangapa pa po kami sa modules sa distribution.
I understand nga sa DepEd nga na first time nyo mag-i-implement ngayon ng modules. At yung iba sa inyo busy sa pagdi-distribute ng mga modules, no?
Pag-print po.
Oo. At minimit nyo pa yung mga parents, nag-orient pa kayo ng mga parents regarding sa conduct ng modular approach. So, we totally understand that. That's why we are asking you, we are very considerate and we are asking you kung gaano nyo katagal magagawa yung assignment na binigay ni Dr. Ray. Give us a timeline. Huwag naman next year. Dapat within this year pa rin yan. Kailan? Para alam ni Dr. Ray kung kailan i-expect yung assignment ninyo. Ako na magsasuggest, 2 weeks, pwede na ba? So kung 2 weeks, ang submission will be on October 17. Pwede na ba yun? October 17, submission of the activity sheet given by Dr. Ray.
Sir, tawad. Pwedeng mga last week.
Last
Okay.
week. sir.
More weeks, sir.
Okay, tawad daw. Para nasa divisoria lang. Magkano po tawad?
Sir, nagpiprint pa po kami modules.
I know. Ako nga nag-bring up na nasa stage kayo ng adjustment. Kaya nga sabi namin, naintindihan namin kayo. We are asking you when you can do.
1 month.
Last week, sir.
Oh, last week ng October.
1 month, sir.
1 month, sir.
Last
1
week
month.
ng October.
Oh, tama. Yung October 31, ang buwan yun. October 31. 4 weeks almost. 4 weeks, no?
October 31.
Oh, sige. So, the email that will be given by Dr. Ray is expecting to receive your activity sheets or assignments by October 31. No?
Thank you po, sir.
Siyempre,
Thank you po.
si Dr. Ray, ang teacher niyo, very considerate yan, tsaka very understanding yan sa situation ninyo.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you po.
October 31. So meaning to say that I will be discussing the use of SPSS by November 7. Kasi ayoko kayong i-overload. Kasi pag nag-discuss ako ng SPSS, may activity sheet din akong ibibigay doon. May assignment din kayong gagawin doon. So ayoko munang dagdagan yung assignment dito, no? I will discuss the SPSS component na pinag-usapan namin ni Dr. Ray. Si Dr. Ray sa theoretical underpinnings and the computation, the manual computation. And I'll be in charge of teaching you the use of SPSS. And kung ituturo ko na next week ang SPSS, meron kayong bagong activity sheet na gagawin. So ayoko munang dagdagan. Okay lang ba sa inyo?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you po.
Hindi ba nakakahiya na iurong ko na, ano, na
Okay lang po, sir. Okay lang po.
Ang puso, sir.
Salamat, sir. Happy Teacher's Day.
Thank you. Teacher's Day naman
baka nakakahiya, baka na ano.
Thank you very much po, sir.
Sir, hindi po
Thank you
nakakaya.
po,
Welcome
sir.
po. Welcome na welcome.
Oh, sige. Baka maabala ko kayo, nahiya ako. Siyempre, alam ko
Sir, okay lang sa amin.
So the SPSS discussion, hands-on discussion, will be on November 7. So meaning to say, starting October 10, 17, 24, and 31, there will be no statistics classes for you to accomplish the assignments that were given to you by Dr. Ray.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you very much
Sir,
po.
thank you po.
Thank you, sir. Salamat po.
Salamat po, sir.
Kasi naintindihan ko na minsan until Saturday, Sunday, nagtatrabaho kayo para sa modules, no?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Printing po.
Yung printing pa lang, ang dami yung piniprint. I totally
Yes, sir.
I totally understand that, no?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we will meet on October 3 for the SPSS discussion. Alright?
October 3, sir.
October 3, sir.
Sir, 3 na po
October
ngayon.
3.
I'm sorry, mali pala ako. November 7.
November.
7.
Tao lang.
November 7 po.
Sir, sir.
Kaya naman, nervous kami eh. November 7.
November 7, opo. Tama po.
Opo.
Thank you po.
Okay po. At saka tandaan nyo, meron pa kayong assignment sa akin in chapter 1.
Yes po.
O, kaya...
Yes po, sir.
Sir, po, wala pa po.
Wala pa.
Wala pa po kami
Sige. May pinost ako sa sa FB page natin, yung sa IVDV. Kapag po hindi kayo nakapag-post ng IVDV, wala akong kokomentuhan, no? Ang pagko-comment ko ay dapat IVDV ilagay ninyo. Pag naglagay kayo ng title doon, as I've taught you, hindi din-develop agad yung title. IVDV muna bago mag-review. Kaya pag hindi ko na-reply yan, yung pinost ninyo, ibig sabihin mali yung pinost.
Mali.
Opo. So tingnan nyo ron, meron ako mga kinomentohan na IVDV. Pag tama, nilalagyan ko approve. Pag walang comment, ibig sabihin mali yung pinost ninyo. Sundin nyo lang yung format, IVDV. Ganun lang kasimple. Para makamove on na kayo sa review of literature. Kasi magbabasa pa kayo ng maraming literature about the topic that you would like to work on. Alright? Okay ba?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Sige. Ngayon, ang gusto kong maiwan, unang-una, maraming salamat kay Dr. Ray sa kanyang time.
Also, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sir Ray.
Sir, salamat po, sir.
And
Thank you, Doc Ray.
we will see you again next time,
Thank
Dr.
you, Dr. Ray. Ang galing-galing niyo po.
Magaling talaga si Dr. Ray at lalong magaling yan.
Magaling.
Discussion ng qualitative and mixed method. Makikita pa natin si Dr. Ray sa discussion ng qualitative and mixed method approaches by November. No? Kaya this is not the last time na we will see Dr. Ray in our Zoom platform. Marami pang panahon. Saka si Dr. Ray, sa mga nasa thesis seminar, ay makikita niyo siya either panel member, either critic, or either chairman of your defense. Kaming dalawa palagi, makikita ninyo sa inyong mga defenses sa mga naka-enroll sa thesis seminar. Therefore, after today, hindi pala, may iiwan lang po yung mga estudyante ng thesis seminar because I will be giving short orientation about what's going to happen sa inyong proposal defenses. So for now, yung mga naka-enroll sa methods of research, sa statistics, maraming salamat. Dr. Ray, maraming salamat po. Sir Michael, maraming salamat po sa assistance. And hope to see you again. Pasensya na po kayo, nakabonet ako kasi nasa Baguio po ako ngayon. Kunwari lang, nasa Baguio.
Wow, sige po.
Alright, so nag-ano na ba kayo? Nag-photo op na ba kayo sa Zoom para sa assignment?
Yes, sir. Opo. Thank you.
Mama.
Kasama si Dr. Ray, dapat sa picture ninyo para may proof of attendance.
Mama na.
O, Ma'am Ana daw. Sagot.
Yes po. Yes po. Ano po yun? Meron na, picture.
Meron na. Hanggat nandiyan si Dr. Ray, pag umalis si Dr. Ray, hindi niya na mapipicturean yan. Yan ang pinakagwapong lecturer sa lahat ng graduate school natin. Sa lahat ng schools, Mapa Pampanga, Mapa Bulacan, yan ang Piolo Pascual ng mga grad school.
Heartthrob po ba, sir? Heartthrob.
Yan si Dr. Ray.
Napakahusay po ni Doc. Napakahusay.
Bolang-bola na yun, ano?
Napakahusay mag-lecture. Doc Alvin.
Alright, so kung
Sige po, thank you po.
thank you. Kung tapos na kayo
Very much po.
I will now ask those who are not enrolled in thesis seminar to please take your merienda na and imimit ko lang po yung mga naka-enroll sa thesis seminar. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye po. Bye-bye po.
Sa hindi naka-enroll sa thesis seminar.
Bye-bye
Salamat.
po. Thank you po.
Sir. Yung po ba thesis seminar at seminar in research sa?
Ay, opo. Same lang yun. Seminar on research.
Marinig mo.
Seminar, yes. Parehas lang yun.
Sir,
Yes po.
i-follow up ko lang po kasi nag-post na ako dun sa group chat natin regarding dun sa 217 ko dun sa lako. Wala pong sagot dun sa.
Ano yung 217?
Kasi po yung mga kasama ko nung kumuha kami ng 217 units. Naisama po lahat sa na-credit. Sa akin po, wala po.
Okay. Ganito yan. Merong error, no? Nagkaroon lang ng miscommunication and misunderstanding na kapag naka 217 kayo sa lako, hindi po yun credited na pang seminar on research sa Mikawayan College. Kasi po, sa lako ay purely discussion lang yon. Sa Mikawayan College, ang ginagawa po sa seminar on research ay proposal defense. Kaya yun ang purpose ko ngayon kung bakit ko pinapaiwan yung mga naka-enroll sa seminar on research. Kasi pag-uusapan natin kung paano mangyayari sa proposal defense ninyo this semester. Kasi po, kapag hindi kayo nakapag-proposal defense this semester, magre-re-enroll kayo ng seminar on research next semester. Sayang. Sayang ang pera. Kaya dapat this sem ay makapag-proposal kayo chapters 1 and 2. No? So therefore, yung 217 ng lako ay totally different sa seminar on research ng Mikawayan College. Kasi ang lako na 217 ay walang proposal defense. Yun lamang po ay purely discussion. Ngayon,
hindi siya makakredit.
Hindi siya makikredit. Kasi yung seminar on research ng Mikawayan College, kaya ko kayo gustong kausapin na ngayon, kasi dapat mabuo nyo na yung chapters 1 and 2 ninyo. Pag nabuo na yung chapters 1 and 2 ninyo within this sem, sana this October mabuo na. Ipapa-schedule ko na kayo ng defense. Ang defense, nandito na ba lahat na nasa seminar on research? So 36 ang naiwan, no? So, ibig sabihin, meron pang wala. Marami ang naka-enroll sa seminar on research eh.
Meron pa pong wala.
Marami
po tayo.
Oo, maraming wala.
Doon po sana, sir, sa methods. Doon po sila pumapasok.
Oo nga, ibig sabihin maraming hindi umattend, no? O di sige, sa may mga kaibigan na naka-enroll sa seminar on research, pakisabi na lamang po na ang required output this semester is proposal defense. Kapag hindi po kayo nakapag-proposal defense this semester, ang ibig sabihin nun, magre-re-enroll kayo next trimester.
Pero, sir, pwede po kaming humingi na uli ng evaluation sa mga subjects na credit sa lako, from lako.
Evaluation? Hindi pa ba naibigay sa inyo evaluation?
Nabigyan na po kami kaso po, kagaya ng sabi ninyo. Yung iba nandun kasi seminar on research, yung iba wala.
I'm sorry, paki-ulit. Hindi ka narindihan.
Nabigyan po kami. Kaso po yung iba, nakasama pa yung seminar research.
Yeah, isa lang naman yun. Isa lang naman ang pagkakamali doon na kinredit yung 217. Dapat hindi. Kasi kapag kinredit yun, mawawalan po yung proposal chance na makapag-propose ng paper. Kasi ang thesis writing ng Mikawayan College ay final defense na. So kung hindi kayo dadaan sa proposal defense, wala kayong i-final defense sa thesis writing. Remember, may subject na thesis writing. So ang thesis writing, expected output is final defense. Maliwanag yun ha? Seminar on research, proposal. pag nakapag-proposal kayo ng seminar on research, sa thesis writing, final defense kayo. Pag hindi kayo nakapasa, pag hindi kayo naka-enroll or nakapag-proposal ng seminar on research, magre-re-enroll kayo next trimester ng seminar on research. Kaya dapat makapag-proposal kayo. So therefore, my reminder is for you to brush up your chapters 1 and 2. Meron naman na akong pinost na format, sample format, sa ating FB page. Tingnan nyo na lang yung sample format ng chapters 1 and 2. And then kapag ready na, ang schedule of defenses ng Mekawayan College ay every Sunday. And then 10 lang. So first come, first serve po yun. Pag yung first 10 na nakapag-submit, magbabayad lang kayo kay Sir Daes, and then i-schedule na kayo for proposal defense. Alright?
Sir, ano po, may nagpapatanong last na lang.
Sige po.
Paano daw po kung halimbawa hindi naman siya mag-thesis pero naka-enroll sa method tsaka seminar tsaka stat, pero hindi naman po siya mag-thesis, okay lang daw po na hindi na siya mag-defense?
Parang ERF lang.
Opo, yun lang po ang ano niya, kaso talagang in-enroll niya na po ito.
Kaya lang, yung seminar on research, wala siyang magiging grade kasi nga ang basis ng grade ng seminar on research is yung proposal defense. May magiging INC. So ang completion noon, pag re-enroll the following SEM, ay kailangan makapag-proposal defense.
Final requirement po yun.
Final requirement yun at yun ang magiging basis ng grade ng seminar of research.
Okay po sir, thank you po.
No? So, ilan na ba rito ang meron ng ready na chapters 1 and 2?
Wala pa.
Wala pa. Buuin nyo na. Wait lang 1 minute lang. Ayan, so sorry. So, yun, buuin nyo na yung chapters 1 and 2 ninyo. May format na naman akong pinost doon. At I'm sure yung mga special topics natin sa research ay makakatulong doon sa pag-improve nyo ng chapters 1 and 2. And kung meron na kayong mabubuo, may critic naman na mag-check eh. May critic, ibig sabihin merong possible na tutulong. So ilan na ang interesado na makapag-proposal defense? Wala pa? Wala pa? Sayang, magiging incomplete kayo niyan. Ang magiging grade ninyo ay I and C kasi wala kayong naging proposal.
Pipilitin po namin makabuo.
Buuin nyo na. Anyway, yung stat naman ay medyo 1 month na na vacation case stat eh. So buuin nyo na, no? Ako tina-target ko October 15 makapag-submit na kayo para this month makapag-proposal na o by November siguro makapag-proposal na kasi marami kayo. First come, first serve yan. No? So anyway, magkakaroon ulit tayo ng another meeting, no? Yung sa seminar on research. Magkakaroon tayo ng another meeting para mapag-usapan pa natin in detalye. Kasi yung nandito ngayon 36 lang, 35 lang eh. Alam ko hindi lang 35 kayo na-enroll eh. Ano kayo? Almost 100 kayo eh. Maraming siguro yung iba tapos na ng statistics, no? So magpo-post na lang ako sa FB page natin kung kailan ang meeting, especially for seminar of research na naka-enroll na estudyante, no?
Yun po, Doc.
Yes.
Regarding po dun sa yung request po namin regarding with advising po. Kailan po kayo namin malalaman para po para makapag-consult na rin po kami sa advisors po namin?
Oo. Sino po sila? Sino yung nagtatanong?
Si Sir JC po. Giancarlo po.
Giancarlo. All right. Jen, alam ko, final-out na natin yun, di ba? Oo. Sige. Kasi pinapatanong ko na kay Sir Daes. Pero for the meantime, kung wala pang appointed advisor at meron na kayong ipapacheck, paano ba? Willing naman ako mag-check, no? Kaya lang, hirap lang ako mag-check through laptop. O kaya, siguro mag-zoom, kaya lang mahirap pa rin eh. Ang gusto ko printed kasi I'm checking eh. Mga taga Malolos ba kayo?
Bulacan po, Doc.
Malolos.
Malolos po.
Kung sakali bang sabihin ko na...
San Rafael, sir.
San Rafael, malapit lang. Kung sakali ba na sabihin ko na willing ako mag-check pero pupunta kayo rito sa bahay, makakabiyahe pa kayo?
Saan po ba kayo sa Malolos, Doc?
Malapit sa bayan, malapit sa Baraswain Church, Cathedral, malapit sa Robinsons.
Ako, sir, willing po ako pumunta.
Sige. Yung mga willing...
sir, may tatanong lang po ako. Okay lang po.
Pwede.
Medyo nako-confuse lang po ako. Ano po ba mauuna? Proposal, defense, or compre?
Pwedeng sabay.
Pwede po.
Kasi sabay mong in-enroll eh.
Apo.
Sabay na naka-enroll sa'yo. Ayun.
Apo.
May meet na kayo ng compre review?
Hindi pa po.
Siguro ipapatawag. May schedule naman na yata, di ba?
Tatanong ko na lang po din kay Sir
Meron na
po ba?
Meron naka-post sa FB, sa Flexible Learning Group na FB, pinost yata yung Chris, di ba?
Sige po.
Check nyo na lang.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sige, yung mga sino yung willing pumunta sa akin para magpa-check? Kasi mas comfortable ako na may printed tapos minamarkahan ko eh.
Ako po, Doc.
Ako din po. Pag nakagawa na.
Ako din po.
Pakibanggit yung pangalan para mabilang ko.
Sir JC po, Sir JC. Giancarlo.
Isa. Sino pa?
May answer yan.
Angela B. Ramos po.
Dalawa. Sino pa?
Rodelia Bueno po.
I'm sorry?
Rodelia Bueno.
Rodelia. 3.
Angela B. Ramos po.
Angela, 4.
Sir Jean Fatima Panga po.
Angela B. Ramos po.
Ramos, 5. Sino pa?
Jane Fatima Dungo po.
Dungo, 6. Sana 10 para kayo na rin yung unang isalang sa defense. So 6 pa lang, may 4 pa na slot.
Depends po yung chapter 1 and 2.
Hindi, ang point ko, yung pag na-check ko, syempre, i-recommend ko na kayo for defense. Kokomentuhan ko yung paper, mag-comment ako sa paper, input niyo yung mga recommendations ko, and then after that, schedule na kayo sa defense pag na-input niyo na yung mga recommendations ko.
Ito, sir.
So 6 pa lang. Sino pa?
Sir, kami po sa Pampanga, siguro mga 5 po kami.
5.
Sabay ko na lang po.
6 tsaka 5. Sige, 11.
Sir, kami po, sakto po kung isasama ko po yung 4 ko din ka, bali 10 na po.
Okay.
Willing naman po din sila pumunta. Hindi lang po sila makasalita.
Hindi lang makasalita? Bakit? Ito sa bibig.
Nahiya.
Makasok sa bibig. O di sige, yung taga Pampanga ilan? 5?
Opo, sir.
O sige, 15. Okay, kaya ko yun. Kaya ko accommodate ang 15. Ang tanong, kailan kayo pupunta? Hindi pwedeng isa-isang araw. Dapat, yun, one time, big time lang yun. Isang puntahan.
Sir, kami pong mga Pampanga, siguro po mga 3rd week po.
Give me specific date kasi ilalagay ko sa calendar ko para hindi ako magsiset ng any activity during that day. Yun lang yung haharapin ko. Checking lang maghapon.
Sige po, sir. Tanungin ko po sila.
I need a date now kasi ilalagay ko sa schedule ko.
Bali po pupunta kami, sir, dun sa mga taga Pampanga.
Hindi po, pupunta kayo dito sa bahay.
Sunday po ba? Sunday, sir?
Kayo ngayon tinatanong ko.
Okay. Sandali lang po. May meeting kami.
Antayin ko yung date. Kailangan may date para may block ko na sa
Sir, tiga saan po ba kayo, sir? Sa...
Malolos po, malapit sa Robinson.
Malolos lang po.
Opo.
Malapit lang po pala sa amin.
Malapit din sa Cathedral.
Opo, malapit lang kami. Palit lang kami, sir.
Malapit lang yan. Ibibigay ko yung address ko once na mag-confirm kayo na pupunta kayo.
At okay lang po ba na kasi pag-usapan muna namin yung mga schedule namin. After this, message na po namin.
Gusto ko sana ngayon para matapos na natin eh. Para after today, may iba naman ako maasikaso.
Tawagan po namin kayo after. Magtatawagan lang po kami. Tapos tawagan namin kayo agad.
O ganito, yung mga pupunta, total of 15, gawa
Sir, kami, kami po, kung okay po sa inyo, October 31, Saturday.
October 31. Yun yung submission nyo ng stat,
Opo.
Okay, wala namang stat class nun.
Wala naman po. Ayun po, kung pwede po kayo, October 31.
I-check ko kung meron tayo, kung merong research class. Kasi pag may class yun, hindi ako pwede. I-check ko yung program ko.
Sige po.
October 31, meron naka-schedule. So, ako nag-host ng ng mga lectures so hindi ako pwede.
Sige po, wait lang po.
Sir, confirm ko lang po kung yung ipapacheck po ba chapter 1 and 2.
1 and 2 na. Buuin nyo na para may format naman eh.
Sige po.
Pwede bang gumawa ng GC ang seminar on research? Kasi ang plano ko, kahit sa gabi, weeknights, magdi-discuss kasi ako ng chapter 2 kung paano gagawin ng chapter 2. doon tayo magbe-brainstorming para pagdating nyo dito, yung paper, very minimal na lang ang corrections. Halimbawa, pag available kayo ng mga alas 7 ng gabi, alas 8, o mga isang oras lang, magdi-discuss ako on how to write chapter 2 para pagdating nyo rito, ay maayos na yung paper ninyo. Very minimal na lang. Kasi titingnan ko rin yung formatting. Kasi pag nag-proposal kayo, magpapa-LBC kayo ng printed copy kay Daes kay Sir Daes. Printed copy ang i-require niya.
Bali po sir, halimbawa, dapat October 31 or lagpas pa doon pwede po.
Ang alin? Ang defense?
Magpa-schedule sa inyo. Sa pagpapacheck.
Papunta dito?
Opo. Halimbawa, kasi po, di ba, gagawa muna kami ng sa October 31, conflict po siya sa schedule namin sa paggawa ng statistics. For example, by November na po kami magpa-check. Okay lang po ba yun?
November na? Masyado matagal?
Dapat po earlier than October 31.
Earlier sana. How about kasi, di ba umaattend din ba kayo ng methods of research?
Opo, sir.
O yun. Every Saturday may klase Every Saturday, sinecheck ko yung schedule ko, every Saturday meron.
Nakita nga po niya.
Kaya dapat to, hindi Saturday. Dapat to,
ang alam po kasi namin, October, by October 10 yata, yung chapter 1 yan
submission chapter 1.
Pero po kung
October
sakali,
17
sir,
po yung chapter 1 narinig.
Ayo, chapter 1, October 17 no, ma'am. Namove siya na 17.
Sir, naka-record pa rin po tayo, sir.
Okay lang, para marinig ng mga wala rito ngayon.
Okay po.
October 17.
Para marinig ng mga hindi naka-attend ng
Ang mindset po kasi namin, sir, chapter 1 na October 17 lang, tapos by December yata yung chapter 2.
Pero wait lang, sige. Pero pwede ko na sigurong i-end to, yung recording.